Fantasy matchup time. Prime Riddick Bowe versus Prime Shannon Briggs. That's right, a cannon. Let's go, champ. Now, when Briggs was in his prime, this was before the Let's Go Champ days, Briggs was one of the more physically gifted heavyweight champions in history. He was a terrific puncher. He had tremendous hand speed, particularly for a big guy. And he was a very, very, very quick starter. Very athletic, power in both hands, good punch variety. The problem with Briggs is that he was very upright, easy to hit, and he had poor stamina. But nonetheless, he was a very quick starter, and he actually had more first-round knockouts than any other heavyweight champion in history, including Mike Tyson. If you ain't seen Prime Shannon Briggs, go look up some of his early fights before his loss to Darryl Wilson. And even after his loss to Darryl Wilson, he still had some spectacular early performances. So he'd always come out and try to rush you. Now, Riddick Bowe, personally, I think Riddick Bowe is overrated by most boxing fans. Bowe is most known, obviously, for his trilogy with Evander Holyfield. But he also beat some other contenders like Jorge Luis Gonzalez, who was a talented Cuban amateur who turned pro and didn't have a trainer. Trained himself. When he fought Bowe, for most of his pro career until he lost to Bowe, he was self-trained, which is never a good idea. But Bowe beat him, and Gonzalez never beat anyone of note anyway. But Bowe did beat him. He beat Larry Donald. He beat Herbie Hyde. Who else did he beat? He had the 2 fights with Andrew Golota, where he really took a terrible beating in both of those fights. And other than that, that's it. I mean, when Bowe was champion, he had 2 easy defenses against Jesse Ferguson and against Michael Dokes, who was a washed-up former champion. He obviously blew both of those guys out. And then he had the rematch with Holyfield, which he lost, and, you know, so on and so forth. So he's most well-known for the Holyfield trilogy. And it was a tremendous trilogy. But I think because of that, he's a bit overrated. First of all, I don't think Bowe's chin was as good as people think it was. Bowe was obviously stopped in the Olympics by Lennox Lewis. He was hurt quite badly in the Terrell Biggs fight. He had a very, very difficult fight against Tony Tubbs. He was dropped very heavily and hurt badly in the third Holyfield fight. And Holyfield's never been a massive puncher, but he dropped Bowe very heavily with a left hook and he came very close to knocking him out. And he was obviously hurt badly in both Golota fights, and in the second fight, he was dropped. So I don't think his chin was as good as people think it is. He took a lot of shots in the Holyfield fight, but again, a lot of people take shots against Holyfield. Lennox Lewis took plenty of shots against Holyfield and never came close to going down. Maybe not as many as Bowe, but he still took flush punches on his chin. You know, Ray Mercer, many fighters took, George Foreman, loads of fighters have taken loads of flush shots from Holyfield without going down, even someone like Alex Stewart. So, yeah, I don't think Bowe's chin, I'm not saying he had a bad chin, but I don't think his chin was that great. And against a fast starter like Shannon Briggs, I think he'd be vulnerable early in the fight. Briggs was certainly quicker than Bowe, more athletic, more explosive. Bowe had a better jab. Bowe, I would say, had better stamina, better staying power. But if you look at the first Golota fight, I accept that in the second Golota fight, Bowe was pretty much drained. He worked too hard, I think, to try and get his weight down. And he just looked weak and just off key in that fight. He didn't look like himself. But in the first fight against Golota, that was the real Bowe. Yes, he did have a tough fight with Holyfield, but it also had some good wins against other people, like I just mentioned, people like Larry Donald and whatnot. So I think that if you see the problems he had with Golota, even early in the fight, in the first Golota fight, I think those problems would be even worse against a guy like Shannon Briggs, who's even quicker than Golota, hits harder than Golota, starts faster than Golota. I think it would be a very, very tough. It's either going to be Shannon Briggs knocks Riddick Bowe out early, and some people are going to scoff at that, but I'm telling you, that's what I would be going for. Either Briggs early And if you can't get Bowe out early, Bowe would knock Briggs out late. The one thing I probably don't see is the fight going the distance, because both guys have got killer instinct. Both guys can punch. Bowe's very, very nice jab, I think, would come into play the longer the fight went. Early in the fight, I think Briggs, with his athleticism and whatnot, would be able to negate Bowe's jab and do damage. If I had to pick in the fight, I'd probably pick Bowe. I mean, well, I do have to pick. It's a fantasy matchup. I'd probably pick Bowe to stop Prime Briggs late, but I wouldn't be that confident in it. I mean, to me, it's like 55% chance of Bowe winning late and a 45% chance of Briggs knocking Bowe out or stopping him within the first 4 or 5 rounds. So, yeah, I'd probably go with Bowe late, but I don't know. I'm in two minds. I might even go with Briggs early. We'll never find out, obviously, but drop your comments below. How do you see this fight going? This was not suggested by anyone. This is one of my own. I would have loved to see that fight. The trash talk, 2 boys from Brownsville, Brooklyn. It would have been great, but yeah. Let me know how you feel that fight would go. It's your boy Hatman, I'm out.